So welcome everybody, and today we're going to be going over a unique redemption that I haven't done before, so sit back, relax, and we're going to talk about how to maximize every single point that you've earned to get you the cheapest possible flights or some of the best experiences. And shout out to Julie for submitting into the Redeem With Me series. We're now on episode 3, and I will leave a link down below if you do want to apply for this series. It's completely free, and I basically take all your points and pretty much book an entire trip for you without actually physically booking it. So without further ado, let's get into this redemption. Well, this is what the submission form looks like. Again, if you do want to apply for it, by all means go for it. It is completely free. But you can see here that the main transportation or the main trip that they want to take is going to be from New York City over to Lima, Peru. They want to go for about 2 weeks during the Christmas time of 2025, so of this year. Again, season is going to be winter. They prefer to fly in economy to, again, maximize every single point as much as possible. And they have a combination of American Express as well as Capital One miles in their actual situation. And what's crazy is that they have 750,000 total points. Now, I don't know which one has the most, if it's more Capital One or more American Express. And I can assure you that this is not going to cost 750,000 points, and you can definitely maximize that if you do want to go in business class or anything like that. But let's start off and see exactly what I would do to find out what it would cost me from a points perspective to spend Christmas in Lima, Peru. So the first place I go to when it comes to these redemptions is I like to find out the cash price of what I'm looking to do. So I go into Google Flights to get a general idea of what it would cost me to fly, let's say from New York over to Lima, Peru. Let's put our departure date. Again, they want to go and spend Christmas over there. They didn't mention New Year's, so we'll probably do something around maybe the 15th to the 29th. That gives you a solid 2 weeks in Lima, Peru. We'll press done for one person, round trip in economy. This is what it's going to be looking like from a price perspective. So it's about $687. Again, you can find things that have one stop, two stops, maybe a direct flight. So I've seen some one stoppers over here that are $800. The cheapest is going to be the multi-stop one. So this is $687. And then if you want to fly direct, you're going to go with United or Latin America, which is around $1,300 or up to $2,200 at the end of the day. So again, it gives you a rough idea of what we're going to get from a cent per point valuation at the end of the day, now that we're going to go into the point system. So the next thing I do here is go into Seats.Aero. This is my starting point for whenever this stuff comes around, because it gives you a good idea of where you're going from a points perspective. And there's a few different airports in this area. So you have the big one, which is going to be JFK. You also have EWR, which is going to be Newark. You also have something like LaGuardia. And those are the three main ones that I would put down for this area. And then we go to Lima, and they have one main airport. And of course, they do have a free version of Seats.Aero. I'm not affiliated with them whatsoever, but I'll leave a link for them down below. The free version is a little bit more on the limiting side, but it does help you, especially if it's kind of those short-term spontaneous trips. But if you want to look further out, like a year in advance, you do have to have the paid version. So what I'm going to do here is pick the departure date. We picked the 15th as a comparison, but I'm also going to add plus or minus 7 days to see what it would look like to fly at a different date. And then you can go to your advanced filters. There was no mention of it wanting to be a direct flight, but I do like to start with that just to see what my options are. Minimum seats available 1, and we're going to press search here, and we're going to see what it looks like to fly nonstop from any one of these airports directly to Lima, Peru. So as you can see, this starts to populate, but the one thing I forgot to add in here is that I do have the transfer partners that I do have to select. So I can select American Express as well as Capital One to see what that looks like. And as you can see, it did take away a few options, and now we're kind of limited to Virgin, Delta, and Qantas. So with Virgin, and again, these is for one-way trips, we're looking at about 25,000 Virgin points and $56 in taxes and fees. Then you also have something like Delta, which is 28,000 with only $20 in taxes and fees. And finally, Qantas is 30,000. And it lets you know not only the program, but it also lets you know what airline you're going to be flying to, because these are part of alliances. And even though we're booking it through the Virgin website, this is going to be an economy flight with Latin America Airlines. So you can see right here, if you press down to get some more information, you can see the seat map if you want to. So it's searching that seat map. You give it a second, and you can see what the seat map looks like. So you are dealing with that 232 configuration since it is an international flight. And then same thing goes for the Delta one. Will we be flying Delta if we press the info button? No, you're not flying Delta. You're still flying that same airline, which is probably the same exact flight to begin with. You're just using a different currency and a different taxes and fees formula. Now these dates seem to be a little bit far-fetched in terms of the 2-week threshold, so we're actually going to change this date. We're going to go to the 18th here. We're going to search for the 7 days. And you can see again that it's not really looking great from a dates perspective. So the next thing I would do here is actually turn off the direct flights option, press search again, and now you get to see what this looks like. So the green indicates that these are going to be direct flights. Blue means that there's going to be some sort of stoppage or connecting flight. So you can see here for 30,000 points and $100 Canadian, you can fly on, which airline is this one? You can fly on a multitude of different airlines if you're willing to do the stoppage right here. So this one does have a few stops, which I would try to avoid. So we're going to go back to the direct flights and work off of that one. So now what I've done here is really narrowed down exactly what I'm looking for. So this one is, again, a Qantas flight that leaves on December 14th. That's 36,500 points with $50 in taxes and fees, or about $56. And this is going to be a one-stop flight. So this is the one that I'm actually going to recommend because it finds the date, and you're flying from JFK to Miami and then from Miami to Lima, and you're flying all in economy on American Airlines the first leg, and then on Latin American Airlines on the second leg. So I think this is a good breakdown in order to book this flight. But now we want to do the same thing but reverse it. So now we know that we're flying out of JFK, so we'll press these arrows right here, we'll delete Newark, we'll delete LaGuardia because you're going to be landing back into JFK. And of course, like I said, we want to get back on the 29th. We're going to press search, we're going to see what this looks like from an economy standpoint. So he can fly back. So they can fly back either on the 28th or the 30th, and it's only 25,000 points and $86 in taxes and fees if you book it through Virgin, and you can fly directly from Lima over to JFK. We'll press the info button to see what that looks like. You are flying with LATAM, which is totally fine by me. So overall, from a pricing perspective, what we're looking for, this is going to be 36,500 plus a 25,000, which then gives us 61,500 in terms of the actual point redemptions needed. And it's about, let's say, $90 in taxes and fees USD here, and then another $56 in taxes and fees. So it's a little under $150 in taxes and fees with both of them round trip. So the final thing I like to do here is get a cent per point valuation overall. So again, if we're going to be taking this flight that leaves out of JFK, connects to Miami, and then goes to Lima, it's at 9:23. It flies with American Airlines first, and then Latin America, Peru. So if you go over here, I was actually able to find this flight, and it's actually only $296 one way. So do keep that into consideration. Now that is the basic economy version. If you do want to get a little bit more, let's say maybe the main plus or the main cabin, it will cost a little bit more. So let's maybe do the $344 option as the one that we're going to go with for that one-way trip down. So then for that return flight, we are leaving out of Lima, Peru at noon and then arriving at around 8:05, and I was able to find that exact flight, and this is actually going to be $851 if you book it through that airline that I mentioned earlier. So if we start to do that cent per point valuation, you start to add this up to see what this looks like. So it's $851 plus, let's say that $344, which was kind of like that middle economy seat. We'll see what that looks like, and then let's subtract the taxes and fees, which we said was around $150. So that's going to be the value that we're going to go from a cent per point valuation. And then if you divide that by that 61,500, we're actually getting a cent per point valuation of 1.69 or 1.7, which to me is a good enough redemption in order to maximize those points. And it's something that I would use my points for as opposed to using cash. So that is going to be the itinerary that I'm going to put together for this redemption. So flying out of JFK on December 14th, booking it through Qantas, which is going to be those 36,500 points. And that gives you the one-stop flight from JFK to Miami to Lima. And then the return flight on December 28th, which is going to be a direct flight that you actually booked through Virgin, and that's going to be 25,000 points, and then those almost $90 in taxes and fees, giving you that 1.7 cents per point valuation. So thank you to Julie for putting in this inquiry, and again, if you guys do want to apply to be part of this series to help me put together an itinerary for you, absolutely free, it gives me some content ideas, and it's always fun to put this together because it's kind of like a math problem for me. But that will just about do it for this video, everybody. As you saw, you can kind of take this whichever way that you want. Obviously, it's helpful that they're flying out of JFK because that is a major airport, and they fly pretty much anywhere in the world now at this point, whether it is South America, Europe, Africa, and everywhere in between. So being able to fly out of a major airport is great. So if you are starting to put an itinerary together for yourself, and it is to a place that's maybe not as common as some of those major airports, maybe taking a repositioning flight is something that you should take into consideration as well. But that'll do it, everybody. If you did enjoy content like this one, definitely subscribe to the channel. And if you want to watch more content like this, check out one of these videos right here. And then finally, if you made it to the end, leave a little dolphin in the comments down below so I know you made it to the end. And until next time, happy redeeming, everybody. Peace.